Huh.
All right. Welcome back, comrades. Welcome back, Stephen, and welcome to the show, Max.
It's a pleasure.
Hell yeah.
How you doing, man?
Good, good. Glad to have you guys back with us, and glad to have a show back going again. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I haven't been able to really focus too much attention to a podcast, but things are getting better, and so without any further ado, it's time to talk about the DPRK and how they've beat imperialism for essentially 70 years and are still succeeding, and are one of the finest examples of socialism that we have that currently exist. And I wanted to talk about how that has been made possible, and and maybe touch on, definitely touch on some current events and and so forth. So what do you guys think, Max?
I love that. Talk about the background here real quick. You're gonna give us a few paragraphs and talk about some recent events that have been unfolding.
Yeah, well, oftentimes in a lot of leftist circles, um, you get a lot of people that totally dismiss the DPRK as being some totalitarian sort of system, and we've heard that same type of bullshit about the USSR or Cuba or any other socialist system. So it's important, I think, to understand that a little bit about Juche. And so I wanted to read a few paragraphs of Socialism as a Science by Kim Jong-il. And I'll just start. Socialism is a science. Socialism has been frustrated in a number of countries, but scientific socialism is as alive as ever in the minds of the people. The imperialists and reactionaries are fussing about the end of socialism, quote unquote, with regard to the events in some countries which had been building socialism. The renegades of socialism tried to justify their despicable betrayal, claiming that the idea of socialism itself is invalid. However, the truth cannot be concealed or obliterated. The crumbling of socialism in various countries does not mean the failure of socialism as science, but the bankruptcy of opportunism, which has corrupted socialism. Although socialism has temporarily experienced a heart-rending setback because of opportunism, it will without fail be revived and win ultimate victory for its scientific accuracy and truth. Socialism is the ideal and the revolutionary banner of the popular masses who are fighting for independence. The masses achieve their independence by means of socialism and communism. And I think, we can, agree just based on that introduction, where the roots of Juche lie. And it's obvious that the roots of Juche are with Marxist Leninism and Marxism. I don't think that's really even debatable. So when you see people in leftist circles dismissing what the North Korean people have achieved and what they've done, and they fail to recognize it's because of their system, their economic system that they have. Not only that, but their social systems that they've had in place. I don't know. What do
Jason,
you want to add to that, Max?
I just have a kind of a comment, kind of slashed with a question here.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so Juche essentially meaning self-reliance. I hear in leftist circles, people in general that are familiar with the DPRK, um, they say that this Juche ideology is a reaction to the fall of the USSR. That they had to rely on themselves. That they had no other option to rely on themselves. It's either Juche economics or or become sort of an open society in the sense of releasing their markets.
Right, right, and I mean that's a fair point to make. However, and that there's definitely some truth to that. But let's see here. There's
So I mean, I don't know much about this. I'm learning. I read stuff here and there.
right, right, definitely.
The DPRK, in terms of its economic history,
Well, that all started. I mean, it's in terms economically. They, let's start with Kim Jong Il and or Kim Il Sung rather, excuse me, and his history. I mean, he served in the Soviet Army during World War II. I'm not sure if you knew that, and that I mean, he's had a strong relationship with the Soviet Union, and later as under with China.
Yeah. I'm reading here that that Juche became the official state ideology in 1972. So I guess that would in some ways dismiss the argument that Juche is just a reaction to the fall of the Soviet Union.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's definitely has its roots, like I said, in Marxist Leninism.
Yes.
And Kim Il Sung was a Marxist Leninist, and definitely you can call him a comrade of Stalin. I mean, the DPRK relied heavily on the USSR for economic development to get everything going. Once the Democratic People's Party gained power in North Korea, it was essentially the USSR that was financing everything, or much of what they needed to build their infrastructure. To get everything going. So, and there's still a strong relationship even today with Russia and the DPRK. I'm not sure. A few hours ago, actually, there was a headline that came out about a Russian bomber flying over the Korean Peninsula because Russia doesn't agree with any imperialist exercises going on the island at all. And that's been consistent, for forever, essentially, as long as North Korea has been.
And that's something I think about to this day. I mean, Russia is now it's not what it used to be.
Well, no, it isn't. It still holds many of the same alliances, I guess, in terms of countries.
Exactly, and you hear stuff like this, like they're still flying their bombers over the peninsula, and you wonder, I mean, how much of as we would say, I mean, how much of a comrade is Vladimir Putin? I mean, he would get the bullet, but
he's still, yeah. I mean, he's totally, I mean, he gained all of he's kind of a total, betrayal. He gained all of his status and all of his knowledge and all of his everything under communism, and now, I mean, he has unemployed people. He has, elderly people in rural areas committing suicide because they don't have any money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, the USSR isn't the Russia isn't what it used to be, for sure. But I mean, I guess they still defend their allies' right to self-determination in the face of Western aggression. That's something that's been pretty consistent. Even, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, of course. Are you familiar with Oliver Stone, the guy who does documentaries and shit like that?
Vaguely, I mean, to some extent.
So,
yeah.
Just this is really off topic from the DPRK. This is regarding Vladimir Putin.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't catch those interviews he did with Putin.
You know, Oliver Stone asked Vladimir this question. By the way, this is a great set of interviews. He asked him this question. I mean, what do you make of the fall of the USSR? And Vladimir Putin responds, "It is the biggest catastrophe in the 21st century." And it, just like what you said, it led to countless suicides because the economic security vanished just like that. And what do you make of that? And he talks just like you said. It's a huge catastrophe, but it's almost like he wants to ignore the problems that capitalism has caused. I don't understand his train of thought there.
Yeah, I guess it's difficult to I guess understand. I mean, I'm thankful for for getting some Russian comrades' insights on occasion, about certain issues.
Yeah, like he brings up the problems that exactly what you brought up, but he doesn't talk about what the root of the problem is, and it's I don't get it. It's he does. Yeah, let's just move on.
Yeah, no, but I totally understand what you mean. Steven, you there, brother?
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
No, bro. I'm just listening. I'm not. I'm not. Like, I don't know a lot about North Korea myself.
Yeah, I'm personally I'm definitely not an expert on the DPRK. I mean, I have studied Juche somewhat, and I mean, I know of somewhat of their history, and I mean, we all, I guess, I mean, at this point, understand their place and the reality that they are
Yeah.
a fine example of actual existing socialism. And I think we know what's going on with us instigating them constantly, military. So, and it's important to talk about these things and just not, it's important to not ignore, the reality that, they're succeeding, and, they've achieved a 99.8% literacy rate. They have healthcare, they have a right to employment. The people are the power there.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they say that shows a lot for a country that is basically the most sanctioned country in the world too.
yeah, I mean, them along with Cuba. I mean, that's another thing. Not to really step away from the DPRK, but Cuba recently had sent a bunch of doctors to Detroit.
Really?
Yeah, there's an article that I'll post.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But
So-
that's just that's also indicative of what the DPRK does. They send. I mean, their medical technology and their medical advancements are pretty incredible, and they have a great medical system, and they send doctors to the third world to help those countries.
This is here. So the Cuban government had a deal with the American government. Is that what I'm getting here? To send Cuban?
I'm not honestly, Max. I'm not sure of the details on that. But I'll definitely look into it and get back to you for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. It's nuts. Regarding North Korea and its sanctions, this is something I just read. North Korea, 2017 economic growth at almost a 20-year high, despite sanctions.
Yeah.
It's it shows that
socialism works.
Yeah, I mean, you can't
deny it.
Yeah, I mean, they have a planned economy.
Yeah.
Which, another thing, some of these leftists don't understand that it's really annoying. It really gets old to hear so-called Marxists repeating the bourgeois bullshit about the DPRK. It's just, It's so stale.
The stories that come out they're phenomenal because they're insane, like phenomenally insane. Like I don't like you hear some crazy shit coming out of our media, you know, about North Korea.
Oh, here we go. Here's the this is my ADHD kicking in. Cuba will train doctors in Detroit.
Yeah, that's okay. That's boom. You found it.
Yeah. As Detroit public schools close down and students are affected, blah, blah, blah. Basically, doctors in training need to be trained, and there's not enough funding, and Cuba is helping out. That's nuts. That is shit.
And also, and in other news, Americans are going to Mexico for dental care.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's so fucking awesome, man. We're so great.
This is not in, I mean, this should be making international news. I mean,
also, here's something that I wanted to talk about too is the DPRK's contribution to Africa and all over, not only in terms of medical aid, but also in terms of art. There's many really beautiful, magnificent statues all throughout Africa, and nobody knows that that they're from the DPRK or the DPRK did them.
yeah,
it's pretty wild. I'll end up throwing a link up in the description to give you an example of some of those.
Yeah, here we go. And
in West Africa, in Senegal, Mansour built arguably its most famous overseas work, the African Renaissance Monument. It's a colossal structure of bronze standing at a height of 49 meters.
Yeah, I'm reading here. Since the 1960s, North Korea has been providing support for several African nations during their struggle for independence. Specifically, Namibia, one of the African nations, has described North Korea as a longtime ally and most importantly, a partner in economic development. That's wow. I'm learning a lot today, comrades.
Yeah, I mean that's another reason. I mean, I don't claim to be an expert on anything either. I mean, part of the reason I'm doing this is to learn as well.
Thanks. I'm looking it up.
yeah. No, I mean, I'm glad you decided to join. I hope you do as well in the future, Max. Glad to have you, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So I think. And the more and more I learn about the DPRK, the more impressed I am by what they have accomplished in the face of constant sanctions. And we hate the fact that they have a military program. Well, it became imperative, almost necessary. North Korea learned the lessons that Cuba
exactly
had to deal with.
Exactly, and I think anyone with a brain stem can realize that.
Right, but still, I mean, it's not a lot of people make those connections. I mean, certainly not a lot of leftists that I run into.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. I mean, you could vote Republican and respect that, but a lot of people they don't understand. You look at the 2014 invasion of Libya. You look at Syria.
Yeah, Libya. They're literally trading slaves there now.
Yeah, and what do all those countries, including Cuba, what do they all have in common when these actions took place? None of them had nuclear missiles or a formidable army.
Right.
Exactly. It's I think it's imperative for North Korea's survival that they have a formidable army like they do today.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And it's honestly comforting to see China step up and back the DPRK in the face of imperialism. I mean that's somewhat recent news. I'm fairly sure most people know that. That's nothing that nobody doesn't know, but still, that was kind of good to see China. I mean, and that's, on a I guess on a grander scale. I mean, that's sort of, there's sort of a power shift to the point where, the U.S. can't fucking just push anybody around anymore. They just can't. I mean, from the DPRK to Syria, the Syrian people are going to overcome not only, America, the American funded terrorists, and ISIS that are running around in there, I mean, that they're going to beat that shit. The Syrian people are stronger than that.
Yes.
And they've, another ally of the DPRK is Syria.
Yeah. I think, if I may add here,
I believe they just unveiled, speaking of statues, I believe Syria recently unveiled a statue of Kim Il-sung.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Regarding, what you said, the U.S. cannot just push people around anymore. I think that is absolutely correct. I mean, if you look just in recent history, in 1991, the U.S. found itself as at that point in 1991, the sole superpower of the world. The world did not have a USSR. There was no balance of power. And after 1991, through very recently, the U.S. State Department, the military-industrial complex, felt they could do as they please.
Yeah, I mean, they're finding out that they can't anymore.
Can't. Well, they've been royally fucking up.
Right.
Pissing off their closest allies. I mean, in the sense that they know they're fucking up. Oh shit. Hello?
Yeah, and there's so many there's so much bullshit propaganda that we throw up constantly. It's like just trying to do research for this podcast. It's just a fucking tale of hilarity. Just all the bullshit you got to sift through. I mean, really, man.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to look up some information on North Korea,
It's total fucking.
and a bunch of I mean,
it's
of
all
trash articles popped
everything.
up.
Yeah, it's all trash, dude. It's all
Yeah.
basic onion shit,
I
essentially.
know.
Well, have you ever gone on YouTube and just searched Pyongyang walkthrough? Have you ever seen that shit?
No.
No, I haven't, honestly.
I'm gonna send you guys a link. There's this guy named Eric Sang, and I believe he is from Indonesia. He's from Indonesia, and he lives in Pyongyang with his wife and young daughter. And around, I'd say once a week, once every 2 weeks, he slaps a GoPro on his chest and walks around Pyongyang. And it shows you just what the average life is. And I'm surprised you guys haven't heard about this. He gets millions of views.
Oh man, dude, that's awesome. Like I say, I'm glad we're doing this, just for the fact that I can find out some new stuff too. And yeah, you send me the link. I'll throw the link up in the description. And anybody who happens to stumble upon the Prolecast can check it out. So no, that's awesome.
Do right now, yeah, it is. It's really cool. It's really cool. And I believe he I think he works for the Indonesian embassy. He's some sort of diplomatic person. I don't know what he does.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he's really into just like putting a GoPro on or driving around or walking around, and just showing the average person or the average viewer just the average way of life. And at least in Pyongyang, he lives in Pyongyang.
Oh, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, I'll send a link to his homepage. Yeah,
I would really like to see that too. Sounds good.
yeah, it's awesome. Should I just here we go. You guys get it?
I'm looking up.
Did you
something else.
what did you send it through?
On the group chat on Google Hangout. I'll put it in the VPP Facebook thing too.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's fucking awesome, dude.
Let me see.
I'll just like I'll get home from work from a long day and I'm reading through the news and he'll post a new video and it's really cool. It's a nice. There's no commentary. It's just him walking around.
Okay. Also, the DPRK and Tanzania have a long history of not only military aid but trade as well. They provided military aid to the African nation in the 1970s to assist in their liberation struggle.
Huh.
Both Uganda and Tanzania have been accused by the UN over various arms deals with North Korea.
Huh.
Let's see.
There's also just to add to the North Korean social media accounts that are posted. There's it's a group and it's called Young Pioneer Tours, and they give tours of like Mongolia. I believe.
Yeah, Comrade Wolfgang told me that Young Pioneer Tours is probably the better one between them and Kroyo Tours.
Yeah, because they're definitely I don't know. Eric definitely. Eric Sang, the guy who posts these videos, the other guy, he like, I don't know if he definitely has some sort of slant sometimes. Young Pioneer Tours is pretty cool too. Yeah, I'll send both.
Yeah. Also, there's North Korea operates 11 medical clinics in Tanzania.
Wow.
As well.
Damn it, 11.
And what do those look like? Do you have like pictures of those?
No, I mean I'm just reading about North Korean relationships in terms of economically and military.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna send you the. I just sent the playlist of the North Korean stuff from Eric Sang on the Facebook, and you said sending stuff for the viewers of this podcast. Where should I send that?
You know what? You'll share the link with me. I mean, it's probably somewhere, and I'm not seeing it right now.
You over Facebook, and then
yeah, and then I'll edit the podcast when it's over with, and I'll throw a bunch of links of our source material in the description. That way, everybody can check it out for themselves. And
awesome.
But no, and people are highly critical of Kim Jong-un, and he's doing just as good of a job as his dad and his grandfather did, and many people criticize that.
He's no dummy.
I'm sorry?
He's no dummy. He's no dummy.
No, he isn't.
And I think that's a difference between how American media has talked about Kim Jong-un as opposed to his father and grandfather. They've portrayed Kim Jong-un's father and grandfather as just belligerent dictators, but for Kim Jong-un, they portray him as some sort of naive, dumb kid.
Right.
And I find that really interesting. Why do they do that? You know,
it's kind of hypocritical. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I see you threw the link in the group chat.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys hear that echo? Or is it just me?
I hear an echo. Slightly annoying.
Shit, it's probably me.
All right, yeah.
Is it me?
Probably.
What about now?
No. Yep. No, I heard it. It's still there.
Yeah, it's shut.
I'll turn my computer volume down. What about now?
All right. Yeah, it's still there.
Fuck. Oh, I'm gonna turn off my microphone.
It just came up out of nowhere, dude. I don't know how the fuck you did it, but you managed to somehow create an echo chamber.
Am I good?
No.
Damn, what the hell happened?
Dude, I don't know.
Is it like overwhelming?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Well, shit. Should I?
It's like you're the only one that doesn't echo. Me and Steven echo like crazy.
Interesting. Well, I'm a little bit of a pickle here then.
Gotta love Google Hangouts.
Try unplugging your mic or something, plugging it back in.
Oh, I'm just talking to my laptop. I'm not on a.
Oh, word. Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna try to plug in my headphones and see if that helps. 1 second, boys.
Sure.
No problem.
Speaking of Ashton, was he born in the States?
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, Max, do you hear an echo from us?
Nah, man.
You don't hear it?
Nope.
I wonder if the viewers hear it. I'm sure they'll maybe let us know in the comments.
I'm untangling these headphones. All right, here we go. How you doing, boys?
There you go.
Good.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. How's the cold?
No echo.
Fuck yeah. Shabbat shalom.
So what does that mean, man?
You know, I don't know. I know a lot of Jewish people, and they just kind of say that to me. And I think it just means like greetings. It's some sort of a greeting.
Oh, okay.
You know what? The wonders of Google right here. Shabbat shalom, meaning it's a common greeting on Friday evening or throughout Saturday. It's pretty much the Jewish version of peace be upon you.
Oh, okay.
So like, I think I'm not sure what they say in Arabic, but it's pretty much that. Peace be upon you. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
I just came across a pretty awesome piece of Kim Il-sung's selected works, and I'll I'll throw that in the description as well. Just reading a part of it. What is Juche in our party's ideological work? What are we doing? We are not engaged in any other country's revolution, but precisely in the Korean Revolution. The Korean Revolution constitutes Juche and the ideological work of our party. Therefore, all ideological work must be subordinated to the interests of the Korean Revolution. When we study the history of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, the history of the Chinese Revolution, or the universal truth of Marxist-Leninism, it is all for the purpose of correctly carrying out our own revolution. So I think that right there should put to bed whether or not Juche is based on Marxist-Leninism. The fact that it's ultimately a means of sustaining a self-relying country, just as the USSR did, just as Cuba is, and just as the DPRK is doing. So when people say, "Oh, that's not socialism," you know, they're fucking full of shit. They don't know what they're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but
the
no,
majority of
I thought
people,
that was a pretty. I thought that was a pretty awesome quote from the Eternal
Yeah.
Leader himself.
And what is that from? Where'd you read?
That's from that is from Kim Il Sung on eliminating dogmatism and formalism and establishing Juche in ideological work. Speech to the party. It was speech to party propagandists and agitators on December 28th, 1955.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just gonna ask when that was said. Awesome.
Yeah. So yes, Kim Il Sung was a student of Marxist-Leninism, and you know he established Juche to work for his country, and here it is today. North Korea is an amazing country, a beautiful country, and one that's one of the most modern countries in Asia. For all intents and purposes, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen too many pictures of Pyongyang or even the surrounding countryside, or you know, whether you're in the mountains or wherever. There's all sorts of development going on. Yeah, infrastructure and development going on. So I'd say that Kim Jong-un is doing a fantastic job of carrying on what his dad and his grandfather started.
Well, I think we should note that there are setbacks, and it's especially impressive that they've made it this far, and like you've said, they have infrastructure in the countryside that is impressive, even with global sanctions. I mean, it is very impressive, and you can, with these links that I've sent you, this guy is driving in the North Korean countryside, and you see these projects that are finished or that you can see being done, and it's like it is truly impressive. I mean, there's tunnels under mountains, there are hospitals, there are gas stations, and all of this done through Juche economics.
Right. And, you know, and they're successful enough to where they can help third world countries in Africa keep their people healthy, whether they're doing immunization campaigns with African countries or whether they're giving them military aid so they can help them liberate themselves. You know, it's impressive. And, you know, I'm happy for the DPRK and what they've done, and you know, hopefully our ignorant imperialist leaders don't fuck with them too much, because those people they've literally had to build their country on the ashes of their dead relatives. Literally everybody alive in that country is related to somebody that we burned alive.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
and we don't fucking Americans just don't get it.
Exactly.
They don't, and they don't understand how serious they are, man. I mean, really, I don't want to see anybody get killed, but I want to see. I don't want to see the DPRK. You know, I don't want to see anything happen to them, and you know, because it's already happened. You know, leave them the fuck alone. Let them build their society free from imperialist aggression. You know,
And I've got a great parallel for you regarding what you said with everyone today alive in the DPRK knows someone who's been murdered.
Is related to someone, not only knows someone, is related to
Yeah.
someone that has been burned alive by us.
I had the opportunity to travel to Vietnam, and I was
Oh, wow.
and it was an amazing trip.
Beautiful country.
It's a beautiful country and a beautiful culture and a very interesting history. I did some average tourist shit there, but I'd say 60% of my time was um, some work there. It was some humanitarian work,
Right.
and I was taking this night train up, and it was from Hanoi to, one second. Just want to make sure I'm talking about the right place here. Yeah, I was in Hanoi. So that's in, yeah. So I was in Hanoi, and we took the night train up to Sapa. And Sapa is this border village near China. And I was talking to this young man, my age, and we were talking about the Vietnam War. And he wanted to know my perspective, at least what I was taught in high school, in middle school, and college. Um, and it was a very different point of view that he had for me. And this, mind you, this young guy he's my age. He's around 22, 21,
Right.
and he's talking about this war, and he starts breaking down crying. There's so much raw emotion that is in Vietnam.
Oh,
Still,
yeah. I
war.
mean,
It's unbelievable. And
to expand on that even a bit further, and we're kind of straying a little bit off topic, a little bit,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, just the impact and the emotion of people, of an oppressed people, is
yep,
astounding. I mean, in part of, I mean, one of the, I mean, I guess we all, I guess, have certain points in our life where we were, you can kind of consider it a point where it was a part of you being radicalized. And for me, one of that was when I met someone from Palestine. Just simple conversation, and
that's
I
all it
just asked
needs.
the person where they were from, and they said Palestine, and I just felt overwhelmed with guilt for the
Yeah.
amount of the amount of oppression that his people have dealt with for decades.
And you know what? I can say with confidence that you experience the same thing I experienced, is that the person that told you their story, doesn't matter how long it was, they had no animosity towards you.
Right.
They know it's not the common man doing these atrocities. It's the imperialists.
Right.
And there's a lot of emotion behind it, but it's not irrational emotion. They don't hate all Americans. They know that it's the aggressors, it's the leaders that we have. And I mean, it's unbelievable that it's easy to see why there's so much anger, um, and it's also it's just unbelievable that that this anger is not I mean, it's easy to have unfettered anger, is what I'm trying to say, and they
Well,
know.
I guess, and to speak to that same sort of anger that stems from that sort of oppression that these people deal with, in many ways, that explains their resilience. That explains how the DPRK has continued to beat imperialism, and it explains how the Vietnamese people beat imperialism with basically rifles and AK rifles and rice, essentially, and superior tactics from General Giap and Ho Chi Minh. I mean, that's something that that we as Americans, by and large, never really could grasp. You know, the true, even, you know, and you saw it with the Soviet Red Army. You saw it with the Cuban Revolution. You saw it with the Vietnamese people, and the ongoing revolution, the ongoing People's Revolution of Korea. And it's you can't, once a truly free and united people just can't be beaten. So I mean, it's something that we just never understood, you know.
Well, we've never been united
as a society built upon universal selfishness that's constantly crashing itself. You know, I think it's important to recognize the resilience of a free people like the DPRK.
That's a good point. That is a good point. We are. It's a subconscious thing, and a lot of times we're taught to be selfish, and it's deep within American history. Yeah, I could. That's a really good point. It's a collective mindset, and then there's a so-called individualist mindset.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, how do you implement that in the West? How does that come about? I think that's one of several $1 million questions.
In terms of implementing
some sort of class consciousness.
It's happening slowly, but it's happening. Yeah. I don't think we can deny that. And it's really, I mean, you know, and it's, you know, it gives me hope to see, you know, a lot of younger people embracing Marxism, you know, for the future.
Shit like Charlottesville doesn't help.
And you know,
these stupid debates about statues. It's like, really, you don't think this is some intentional thing that it's almost intentionally dividing the working class. People are just bitching about statues.
Yeah, that's great for capitalism.
Exactly.
Bitching about statues and debating about statues is great for capitalism. That's exactly what the ruling class wants, is to just keep people distracted by, you know, just fucking off with statues. And, you know, hey, you know, on that topic, you know what, I get it.
I do too.
You know, I totally get it. No one, you know, the Nazis don't have statues of Rommel all, you know, peppered around Germany, you know, for obvious reasons. And for those same reasons, we shouldn't have, you know, generals of fucking slave masters. And you know what, the whole reality that this is forcing people to to come to, and they avoid it like a fucking plague, is the reality that our whole entire country is built upon the genocide of one race of people and the enslavement of another. And there's no fucking way to get around that. And we have literal statues to prove it. And it's funny as shit. And there's, and on the topic, I've had, we all have Canadian comrades, and they act like they're so innocent. No, well, you know what? The NDSAP had the second largest membership, and guess where? Canada. That's why you have swastikas all over fucking parks in Canada. So trust me, you're an imperialist too.
Yeah, and the Canadians don't want to take them down either. They
don't
want to preserve this. No, they want to preserve the swastikas. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's why?
Well, every Canadian I know, they refer to Native Americans as chugs, which is a derogatory term referring to all of them are alcoholics.
Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, every Canadian I know, I've met probably a couple dozen. I'm from Wisconsin, so they come down here and shit like that. Yeah, they all. I have not met one person from Canada that didn't think that was funny. So, yeah, and regarding the statue shit, most of these statues aren't historical. A lot of these statues were built during the Civil Rights era.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of these were put up in the face of Jim Crow era laws, where we had to make sure we had, black people drinking out of separate water fountains and sitting on different benches,
going to different schools.
Exactly.
These weren't built in 1866. These were built in 1956, 1966.
Right.
And we should, if you really want to solve this bullshit debate, take down the statues that were built post 1870 and leave the ones pre 1870.
Well, I prefer to put up statues of real heroes like Kim Il Sung and Stalin and Lenin.
Or how about American
real heroes?
Like American leftists.
Huh?
Put up statues of American leftists.
Yeah. There's been a number of American leftists.
It's a handful.
Yeah. How about Huey Newton? How about putting a statue up of Huey Newton? How about John Brown? How about we put a statue up? There's,
Fun fact here: Milwaukee is the only city in the United States to re-elect a socialist mayor like 3 times in the 20s. I think it's something Webb or something like that. And there's another socialist.
Eugene.
Eugene Webb.
Yeah, he ran for president.
Yeah.
In jail and got 3% of the vote.
Yeah,
and literally got more than Jill Stein got. Well, locked up in jail eating jail sandwiches, dude.
Yeah, and we're not taught about Eugene Webb in
no, fuck no.
In Wisconsin textbooks. I had to find that shit about my own,
Yeah,
same here.
I mean, a lot of people, and it's another hurdle. I mean, the brainwashing is so thick in America that and you got people that think fucking Barack Obama's a communist. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Fucking help us.
Yeah, or no, he's a socialist globalist.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that is.
Alex Jones. That's what that
Yeah, I was just
like.
about to say that. Yeah, that's his favorite word, globalist.
Globalist, yeah.
And primal. He loves the word primal and Renaissance.
Jesus Christ.
Dude is a riot.
I subscribe to Alex Jones because he's entertaining as fuck.
He really is. I'll give him.
I think there are a segment of his viewers who know that this guy is all bullshit, and I think he knows that some people know that, and they're just watching him for entertainment.
Right.
This guy he is such a, some people say that he's like a plant or something, some controlled opposition, and a lot of times I dismiss that. But that sometimes makes some sense because there's a lot of anger out there, and he kind of just taps into that. He tells people that Hillary Clinton's a lizard.
Yeah, it's funny when I'm online and I bring up Alex Jones and joking about him, like how he's a fucking batshit lunatic. And then someone's like, man, he's right on a lot of things. I just want to fucking blow my brain out.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, but no, so Is Steven, are you there, bro?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here, man.
Okay.
You
Is
have-
someone in the fucking bushes or something? I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
I
it's
heard
not
that.
me.
Is someone having a stroke? Hello?
yo.
Someone having a stroke?
Okay,
No.
we're back to normal.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
So no, all of us are definitely struggling with North Korea, and definitely hoping that you know
I think
they
we.
don't
I think we
they
keep
don't get
veering from
invaded
the
or
North
any
Korea.
dumb shit like that. What's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say. I think we keep veering from the.
Yeah.
Frankly, we don't know enough about North Korea. I mean,
You know, it's
Jason. I know you read a lot of North Korea, but I don't think Steven and I have.
but
No, not
I
too
just
much.
I just got curious about it. I got so tired of being in groups and hearing that Juche isn't in North Korea isn't socialist, and it's just this something else that just works for them. No, Juche is an adaptation of Marxist-Leninism to the conditions, to the material conditions of the DPRK, and just like Cuba, just like Russia itself. I mean, they really sort of defined it. The USSR did. They sort of were the foundation and the development of the dictatorship of the proletariat overall. But and the DPRK is following in those same footsteps as the USSR and Cuba and Burkina Faso to an extent. But I'm not sure if there's anything else that you guys wanted to add to this. We can go ahead and wrap this up. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments. Stephen, Max, is there anything that you guys wanted to add?
I'm good, player.
No.
Right on. Well,
Yeah.
Max, Stephen, I appreciate you for having me out. Viewers, I appreciate you checking out the Prolecast on the DPRK.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Wait, you said we said you were going to talk about YouTube.
I'm
What's
sorry?
that about? Or was that next Prolecast?
Talk about what?
Hello.
Yeah, what were you wanting to, what was I going to talk about?
YouTube.
YouTube itself?
Yeah, that's. Oh, I asked what the content was going to be on. You said North Korea and YouTube.
Oh, no. No, I
you
thought.
misunderstood me, bro. My bad. It just just contextual miscommunication. No problem.
All right. Well, nice talking to you, comrades.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for coming on, and thank everybody for listening to us blabber on about the DPRK. Thank you, comrades.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, man.
See you guys.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good evening.
All right. Red salute.